Welcome to r/Entitled People, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. And today we have two great stories. Hit the like button and let's begin. The first story. Employees tried to save the boss's business, but he screwed everything up. The second story. Customer gets peeved off and calls me stupid since he can't seem to understand some companies shut down for lunch. The first story is, you're only my boss when I'm scheduled to be here. After returning home from a deployment, my husband wanted to keep a promise made to our daughter to quit smoking, so we looked into vaping. Like anything else he does, we researched the heck out of it and learned everything you possibly could. During this process, we would shop at a local-owned store where my husband met and became friends with the owner, also former military. After a while, it became difficult to ever find his shop open, so we would have to seek out other places that didn't know what they were doing as much. After a few years of his homecoming, we were tobacco-free, and he was starting school, so looking for a part-time job. The owner was looking for decent people to work, and we thought we now understood why he was hardly open. Hard to stay open when you can't keep employees. That should have been the first red flag. So they work out a deal and hubby starts school and a new job. Shortly after hubby starting, the other part-time guy will be quitting for a full-time position elsewhere, leaving owner to look for another employee. Deciding to help my husband while he's working and going to school, I offered to learn the business side and come onto the team. Side note, I've helped run and manage businesses previously, so I have excellent experience. My husband too worked as a high-level management, and we both were over inventory in previous jobs. So my husband and I are both working opposite hours and he's going to school. The job itself is easy as long as you know what you're dealing with and help others understand as well. I'd open in the morning, boss would come in midday and hubby would close. This went on great for a while until the boss just quit ordering products. After several times of hearing sorry that hasn't been ordered yet, our clientele and profits dropped tremendously. This should have been red flag number 2. Hubby and I both just kind of waited for the doors to close and we're trying to figure out our next step. After a couple of months of this and us trying to get him to simply place orders, he finally decided to get a loan and properly stock and update the store. Like I stated previously, boss and hubby had become friends, and we believed in helping get people off of tobacco, so we spent weeks and some of our own money helping remodel and fix the shop. It went from a small-time looking operation to appearing as though we had investors. Between hubby and I, we were able to get a good variety of products and organize everything. We even had a system that would let us know when we got low, so orders could be put in. We were basically his business partners at this time, and he wanted to eventually hand the business over for us to manage while he ran his other side business. So how does he repay weeks of us putting in our own time to help get things running smoothly? He drops our hours, leaving us about $700 short a month. This should have been red flag number 3, but apparently we aren't seeing them. Still, with my husband and I managing things, products stay stocked, and we were making 20 times more in a day than previously. My husband had access to the company card, worked with merchandisers and made the orders. I kept track of the shelves, noting what needed ordered, and that what was in the system is what we had in store, along with learning about new products and what would work for our customers and customer retention. We both excel in this. The problem though is that $700 a month is a big loss when trying to go to school and take care of a family, so hubby had to quit school and start a full-time job. Right before he's to begin his new job, boss gets sick and is in the hospital for a couple of weeks. Knowing that with the business loans, he can't afford to pay us for full days for 2 weeks, and that he also can't afford to be closed, we offered a reduction in pay to help keep his business open during operation hours, so he could just get better and not worry. His return is where things go wrong. Upon returning, hubby begins his new job, which means I'm working more hours myself and managing the shop myself. This is when I learned boss doesn't like the opinions of women. We actually test this when my husband would stop by while boss and I were both there and suggest something I myself had just a few days before, only for him to do it upon hubby's suggestion. Okay, that's ridiculous, but growing up around mostly guys, it doesn't bother me. However, we do amuse ourselves by seeing how many times we can get things I know needs done by my husband suggesting something he disregarded from me just days before. Every single time. Anyways, this also begins his descent from a decent caring business owner into a sell-at-all-cost jerk. He refused to put in orders. Customers would only come by when I was working. He always questioned why I had 2 to 3 times as many sales than him when I worked half the time he did, shorting my pay. Customers loved us because we listened to their needs to help find what would work best with their lives, and that's one reason they loved coming to us. He's now decided that he's going to push whatever item he thinks they should want, order tons of these things while ignoring the needed items that customers actually wanted. They would walk out frustrated, not feeling comfortable with him being pushy, and without normal stock items that they came in for. Oh no, it's beginning to look like how he previously ran things, when he almost had to close the doors. What flag number were we at again? So I'm doing everything I can for customer retention, but that's hard when you don't have things to sell them. This is also where him showing up late to open was becoming a daily thing. Sometimes he'd call and ask me to go in, and open 15 minutes before opening time because he's running late. We're in town, he's not. However, sometimes he wouldn't, and we'd get calls from customers that were personal friends, asking why we were not open. He would often ask me the day of if he needed me to cover his shift, giving me no time to plan for it, so I eventually had to tell him he needs to let me know the night before. We have 4 kids and a home to run. His business is not my entire life, to which he states, your job comes first. I laugh and say, yeah, no, I'll see you later and leave. I'm thinking it was a joke, had no clue he actually thought this way, so didn't think any more of it. He comes in to relieve me one day, and as I'm heading out, he asks if I can work a double the next day. I tell him no, we had plans out of town with family, and we'd be leaving as soon as I clocked out. This didn't sit well with him, and he states confidently that, well, I informed you a day before like you requested. To this I respond, you asking me the day before doesn't mean I'm available to do so. This is my normally scheduled time off, and we have plans that were made a long time ago. He gets mad and I leave, no longer caring. The day comes and a friend that's a customer bought something boss pushed because he refused to purchase what he needed, and the friend wound up in the hospital directly due to that. Now I'm mad. Oh look, there's all those flags I didn't see previously. So for starters, I quit answering his calls to open because he was running late. I'm wasting my gas and time, only to not be paid because I wasn't scheduled, and he'll be there shortly. It's no longer my responsibility to make sure it's open on his time. The last straw, the AC unit goes out in the building. He won't purchase a window unit temporarily, and he refuses to make the building owner fix it. Now, I have many health conditions. Several make it so I cannot be in excessive heat. This is in June of that very hot summer. I'm soaking my feet in bowls of cold water, rushing to the bathroom to splash more on my face and hair. It's about this time I informed him of the customer that was in the hospital because of months of his refusal to order products, and he finally decided to do something. He decided this early in the morning on a day my husband had scheduled off work 2 months prior because I had doctor's appointments, and we had home repairs we needed the time to get done. Things had been so hectic that he literally had to schedule a day 2 months out so we could do these things. Fallout. I'm getting ready for my first appointment. I receive a text asking me to come in for a couple of hours and go over product orders. I tell boss that I have appointments that day and that we have things at home we have to get done, so I'll not be able to come in until my shift starts at 5. He goes ballistic, continues to text nasty stuff, and how I'm the one that wanted this stuff ordered. Me trying to explain that I've tried for months to get this done, that he can't just last minute decide I need to cancel important doctor's appointments and hubby's planned day off because he finally decided to do what needed to be done after ignoring me for so long. Hubby, ticked at his treatment of me, goes in with me when I start my shift. We all talk and clear the air and he apologized, giving me the night off. What I don't find out until we leave is that when I went to the bathroom, he told hubby, I just don't understand. I'm the boss. Hubby stares at him for a minute annoyed, and finally told him, you're only her boss when she's scheduled to be here. Outside of that, not you or anyone else is her boss. He had this look like he honestly didn't understand. And this was my breaking point. The petty revenge. I quit. Most customers won't deal with him, and due to low stock, we'd already lost 30% of what hubby and I built up, so this left him with half of his customers. Before he knew I had quit, I removed myself as an admin over all the social media sites. My husband had already quit running the website for the business. Yes, I also ran all of our social media and relations. My final night, I shut the store, put my keys in a secure place that he could find, and texted him they were there. He now had to figure out how to do everything himself. He doesn't know how to advertise, organize, track inventory, run social media pages, and as stated above, he cannot get there on time to open. Add in that it's the dead of summer in the Midwest and no air conditioning, he was back down to the sales before hubby and I took over. I walked out in August with a feeling of relief that after 4 years, I had done all I could, and it was no longer my problem. I loved my job majority of the time there, but that last year was miserable. January, 5 months after I walked out, the business closed. It was sad, as it had been a part of this small town for a very long time, and because of everything we put into it and the friendships that came from the customers there. I did, however, feel justified in walking away from something that hurt others. Boss closing doors allowed for another business to grow. The gentleman that owns it asks our opinions, listens to what we suggest, and does just that. He's very kind and cares about his customers. He knows that we understand the business and know what we're talking about. Even though we are just customers, he takes what we say to heart. He educates himself on that and finds that it would help him greatly. Due to the stressors from my previous job and being forced to work in excessive heat with my conditions, I've physically been unable to work since. Otherwise, I would be working for a new business as an advisor, as he's offered. And the last story is entitled customer mad that we're on our lunch break. I work in an industrial setting, and the general public makes up some of our biggest customer base. And if you didn't already know, working with the general public is a draining and thankless job. Below is my tale of an entitled D who thinks we shouldn't be closed for lunch. Cast of characters. Me, ED equals entitled D. We shut down for lunch daily from 12 to 12:30 and have for years. There's a large sign outside of our gate notifying customers of our hours, including our 30-minute lunch break. We close up the doors to our facilities. All the machinery is shut down, and even Stevie Wonder would be able to tell we're closed. I'm walking across the yard to get my lunch out of the fridge when I spy ED hauling A down our street, pulling an empty trailer behind his hairy homeowner SUV. We're at a dead-end street, so it's very common for people to use our entrance to turn around and leave. Then I hear gravel spinning and an engine revving. ED, hey, excuse me, anyone actually working today or no? Me, we're just closed for lunch right now. ED, excuse me? And proceeds to look at me like I'm speaking in pig Latin. Me, we're closed for lunch. We'll open back up in half an hour. ED, oh, that's just great. When do you open back up? Listen, a-hole, you're holding me up from eating my lunch. Cue Billy Bob Thornton in Bad Santa, where he's trying to enjoy his food court salad and gets harassed by a mom wanting to show Santa to her toddler. Me, who's now annoyed and slightly hangry. Half an hour from now. With this, I attempt to continue my journey. ED, well, that's BS. How was I supposed to know that? Me, you drove past a large sign that states our hours. You also could have called us. With this, I decided I was done with my participation in this conversation. Perhaps if ED wasn't too busy trying to have his Dale Earnhardt moment by driving in here like a bat out of hell, he would have seen the sign. ED, what an effing joke. Y'all don't need a lunch break. And I figured at this point, ED could see I wasn't going to respond any further, as I had my back turned and walking away. ED, hey lady, are you stupid? I'm still talking to you. Me, actually, I'm not stupid, but apparently you are, since you can't seem to understand we're closed for lunch for half an hour. So I kept on walking, not giving an F what ED thinks, or is he going to call and ask to speak to a manager because I called him stupid, or what lame one-star Google review he will leave for us online. I hope you love these stories. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to know when the new video comes out.